Stay Up Late is a charity in the UK that promotes the rights of people with learning disabilities to live the lifestyle of their choice. They match clients and volunteers with common interests, and then they attend gigs together. Everything from musical concerts to sporting events and church services. Paul Richards is the man that set up Stay Up Late and Gig Buddies.
I don't know what the situation's like in New Zealand, but in the UK, there's lots of people with learning disabilities and autism who don't get a huge amount of funded support. So what happens is they end up spending a lot of time at home in social isolation. Loneliness leads to all sorts of things around, poor mental and physical health, and it's bad for communities to have people who are, lonely. And so Gig Buddies basically is trying to deal with that problem by hooking socially isolated people with learning disabilities up with a volunteer who loves the same kind of music, so they can go out to mainstream gigs or whatever tickles their fancy together. So some people that's been going to play sport, watch sport. Somebody wants to go to church. Doesn't really matter. Say what your gig is, and we'll find somebody to go. But generally, it's around about music.
And the critical bit here is having some sort of shared interest in that type of music, because I guess you've got so many genres of live music happening that matching that up, it would be problematic. I mean, there'd be nothing worse than, I guess one music fan having to go and sit for 2 hours through some other type of music performance that they absolutely hated. They wouldn't come back for more.
Last year, some of our advisory group, and they're made up of people with learning disabilities, they decided that they'd like to go to see the Dancing on Ice extravaganza at the Brighton Centre. And I said to our project manager, "Oh, do I have to go? I absolutely hate that kind of thing." And because I know that if you love that kind of thing, the energy rubs off. And if you don't, you just sort of sit there sapping everybody else's energy away from them, don't you? And I would go, and I'd be professional, and I'd try and be enthusiastic. But isn't it better to go with somebody who truly shares your passion, whatever that is? And that is, you're right. That's the hook. It's about a shared interest, but also from that, it's also finding new experiences as well. So if you think about, I sort of think about, I sit in a pub. You sort of sit there chatting with a mate, and he'll tell you, "Oh yeah, you check out this album, an artist I've never heard of," and it's that stuff. Then you go back and you buy the record and listen to it, and it expands your horizons, and so that's part of it as well. But within what people are comfortable with.
So how do you find the volunteers, the buddies that are taking people out to these gigs? Because I imagine you have to be, I won't say careful, but there must be some sort of selection criteria.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we advertise in a variety of places. So universities, venues themselves, a lot of word of mouth. We sort of go to events, sort of around social care and things like that, and put the word out. But also people like social workers sort of spread the word as well. But everybody gets interviewed. We interview everybody and find out more about them. And then we do, we're required by law to do criminal record checks on everyone. And we also give them some training. So in that process, some people do drop out. They realise it's not for them, or they come back with a colourful police record that, And if you've got a police record, it doesn't mean that you can't be involved, but it does depend when it was and what it was for, to be honest.
I'm sure. Now, the Gig Buddies is part of a broader charity that you set up called Stay Up Late, which is essentially about reclaiming the night, isn't it? For I guess, as you say, this community of people that a large proportion of them don't tend to get out at night.
There's so much stuff going on, but I sort of sit in a pub of an evening, and still there's, where we live, very few people with learning disabilities out in the evening. And, the pub is where I meet my mates and watch music or chat the night away and those sort of things, those natural sort of things. So that's through Gig Buddies, what we're trying to create is natural friendships. So they sort of go on and they're informal, and hopefully they last for a long time. Yeah, Stay Up Late started because we were frustrated. I was in a band with three guys with learning disabilities, with a punk band called Heavy Load, and we were frustrated that people were leaving our gigs just as we got on stage, and it was classic Spinal Tap, because we never ever thought that was a reflection on the quality of our performances, which were an acquired taste and quite chaotic and hilarious. And what it was, because typically people who do have support have staff who are working these rigid rota systems that finish at 10 o'clock at night. So everybody leaves at 9 so they can be, home tucked up in bed with their cup of cocoa, and then the staff go home. And we started challenging that and saying, look, people with learning disabilities have every right to the active social lives that we all enjoy, the stuff that defines us and makes us feel part of our community, and they're being denied it. So that's why we started it, and then it's sort of all grown from there.
So, as a gig buddy, I would join the organisation. I go through the vetting process, and then I fill out some form or say, look, I'm really into reggae, or I like a bit of this or that. And you would then say, okay, well, look, we've got someone over here who's interested in that. What do I then go and pick that person up, and then I'm responsible for them for the evening?
Yeah. So, what we do is we have a sort of a matching process. Our project manager, she'll be thinking, when she meets people, she'll be looking at their musical interest, but also where they live, because a lot of the area we work outside of Brighton is quite rural, and with poor public transport links. So it's looking at, do people live in the next village or town along, and if they got a car and those sort of things. And then it might sometimes be around sex or sexuality, yeah, age. It's a whole range of things go into the mix to try and work out, as well as obviously their musical taste. It's quite a complicated thing. But then we'll always go and support the first night out, so that they get to meet first, and then we'll go and support the first night out. So it's sort of set up in that gentle way, and then they can go on and develop their friendship. But we sort of we guide people through that, because we're fully aware that people have anxiety around going out with somebody with a learning disability. A lot of our volunteers are very new to supporting people with learning disabilities, and so we talk through maybe a few of the potential support issues there might be. Maybe someone's anxious in crowds and noisy situations and things like that, and what you do in situations where somebody's experiencing anxiety and different things like that. Yeah, so we don't just leave them to it. We sort of, and then we offer ongoing support as well. So if they're having some doubts or problems, we'll meet with them and chat through things with them.
Paul Richards is the founder of Stay Up Late, and there's more information on our website right now.